Alright, welcome back to Misfit Island. It is Monday. You guys have a good weekend? I hope so. So yeah, if you work on Monday through Friday, then we're here on Monday, starting the week off with God's Word. So yeah, welcome to Misfit Island. This is where my little squad, my little army, this is where we gather to prepare for perilous times as we're seeking for truth as we walk in this world full of deception. So yeah, my name is Timothy. Here on the island, I am Misfit 1. And if you'd like to rumble your way over here, then that would be I, Misfit 1. And if you are watching on Rumble, for me, I hate commercials. And Rumble blast you with commercials. No, I'm not monetized, and they still blast commercials. So come on over to YouTube. There, I'm not monetizing anything. I'm trying to build my treasures in heaven. This is like one way that I can do that. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, then what we do here, how we seek truth is simple. We're reading God's Word. And we are systematically going through the Bible. We went through almost the entire New Testament. We're in the book of Revelation right now. And we're deep into the book of Revelation. So if you're just jumping in today, you need to pause this and go back and watch at least like the last 8 videos to understand what's going on. So yeah, because we're like in chapter 13 today, and this is going to be an interesting video. I think you're going to enjoy what you hear. I haven't read it in a while, so I'm going to dig in. I'm going to try to be an open vessel for the Lord to use me. And so yeah, another reason we come here is we are waiting for the return of our dog hairs everywhere. Crazy. Chapstick on, it's like it flies around the house and sticks to my lips. And so yeah, where was I at? I lost where I was at. Oh, I know where I was at. If we are waiting for the Lord's return, and before the Lord returns, there's one huge event that's going to change. It's going to change the outlook of the entire world, and that will be the pre-tribulation rapture. And that's going to cause chaos on this planet, and all the people that rejected Jesus right now, but they've heard the truths and they realize that was the rapture, they're going to be on fire because they're going to know that what these crazy Christians have been telling them is true. And so it's like when Jesus came and they watched Jesus perform his miracles, and they knew that he was the Messiah, he was the Christ that came to pay the price of the sins for mankind, and they seen his rise in his ministry, and then they seen him brutally beaten and hung on the cross and died and resurrected. And that, just them seeing that, gave them the power and the strength, not only to go out and preach the gospels to the dying nations that have been kicked out from Adam's sin and the rebellion at the Tower of Babel, the 70 nations, but it literally all of them was martyred but John. I think all the everybody was being martyred back then for the faith because they seen Jesus and they watched him ascend to heaven, and they knew that his promises was real. Pentecost came, the Holy Spirit, filled them, and they knew, and they, I think when the rapture happens, it says that there's somewhere in Scripture it talks about there's going to be the biggest revival the world has ever seen, and unfortunately for the trib saints, they're going to have to die for the faith, just like the apostles did. So, and I think, so at that point in time in the history of man, after the rapture, people are going to know that the Bible is real, and they're going to be martyred for the faith. And I think the reason why they're going to be able to withstand that and go to their death because of their faith is because they seen the rapture. The rapture was real. Because basically the last 2,000 years, the supernatural has not been going on in this world. But after the rapture happens, this world is going to be opened up to the spiritual realm. The matrix and the ones and the zeros are going to be, you're going to be caught in the middle of that, and it's going to be chaos, and it's going to be nuts. And so if you stumble on this, if these videos survive that, and you stumble on this, then you need to get you a Bible. But by this point, they're probably going to be outlawed, or at least rewritten. So yeah, I would recommend if you're new to the faith, and or you don't understand, you come here by accident. Well, you're here on purpose for a reason. There's a reason you stumbled upon this channel, and I call it Misfit Island because once I'm a misfit for one. That's why I say I'm Misfit One. But once your heart is pierced and you understand the truth and you want it, and there's a high like you've never been high. You want everybody else to feel that high too, because now all of a sudden your eyes are opened and you realize the truth. And we're all misfits. You just jump into the misfit family. And if you don't call yourself that, you are. I mean, if you're out there preaching the gospel and telling people about Jesus, you're a weirdo. Now people do not want nothing to do with you. The earth dwellers, as they say in the book of Revelation. You can read about them today, chapter 13. So basically, I guess one other point I want to make before I start reading is that Jesus, God the Father, the three persons in the one God, the triune God, He desires a relationship with me, with you. That's what He desires from each one of us, each individual. So you watching, me talking, what He desires is a relationship, not a religion. He doesn't want you to jump in and become religious or join our religion and do these man-made rules that was put into God's word. They added these man rules to be a part of that religion. He's not looking for you to be religious. He wants a relationship with you. So if you like me and you look at the religious people and you don't know anything, I didn't know anything, but I look at religious people, I was like, no way, no thank you, no way, Jose, goodbye, no way. Well, because I am a misfit like you, then so I started the channel. I figured that people that would never go into a church might stumble upon this, and they, the Lord will use me and His word to plant some seeds in you, and hopefully your eyes will be open, and you'll understand the truth, and you'll become born again, and you'll reign and rule with the Lord during the 1,000-year millennial period, and then we'll live with Him forever as He destroys the earth and recreates the earth and the heavens once again, and then man will be restored back to the planet like the original tent when Adam was created. They forfeited that title deed to this planet, and right now Satan holds that, and all his little minions, and the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, and these giants, these demons that roam the earth that need something to, it's like they're like when they was destroyed in the flood, the Nephilim, their bodies died, but their spirits didn't, and it's like and if you read what these Nephilim were like, these giants, that they was just like carnivores, and they just sexual immorality and eating and cannibalism and eating humans, and their appetites, and now they're roaming the planet, and they have all these desires they have, and they can't fulfill any of them until they get possessed, until they go into somebody's body, and they can do these desires that they have. Their personality can come out in these human beings that they possess, and you can see that when somebody's possessed, the demonic spirit inside of them. That's because they're trying to enjoy the things they want to enjoy. So anyways, welcome to the island, and like I said, we're in the book of Revelation. I'm not going to do an overview because chapter 13 is pretty intense, and it might get long. I don't know. I'll start reading and see what the Lord brings back to my memory. So you ready? The end of chapter 13 is probably the most famous part of the Bible that the whole world knows about or heard about, or everybody knows about the mark of the beast. It's the number of 666, for it is a human number. Iron Maiden song. It is the number of man. The number is 666. You start playing the guitar. If you're a product of the 80s like me and you got into metal, then you've definitely heard that song. So you ready to dig in? You ready for this one-on-one Bible study between you, me, and the Lord? Scripture tells us that there's two or more in agreement in His Word, that He's in the midst of them. So He's in the midst of us right now as we get ready to dig into His Word. You ready? So again, if you know people that don't know the Lord or reject the truth, you want to, because the stuff that we're reading about right now is literally going to take place on this planet, and it's coming soon. We are like, the technology level that we're at, and the things that these men, these godless men that are probably being used by this spiritual realm, these principalities and powers and rules over dark places, the desires that these men have and what they want to do and where they see the planet going and what they're trying to do to us, our little useless eaters. It is, we're getting ready to go beyond what the scriptures writes about or tells us about. So we are definitely close. And if you look at the things going on in the world, you definitely see the beast system being built. So let's just dig in. Chapter 13, verse 1. So remember, we just finished chapter 12 was like an overview chapter. And we, it went to like this history of when the birth of the Israels, the Jews, the nation, when it was created, started the nation. She gave birth to the Messiah. The Messiah had his followers. The believers are caught up into heaven. And then it goes back and it starts talking about how this war broke out in heaven. And Satan lost that war, and he comes down to the earth, and he's like, woe to the people on the earth, because Satan has come down to the earth, and he knows he has a short time, and there's great wrath. He goes, so it says, let's read it real fast. We'll start in verse 12. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe, so us in heaven, we're rejoicing right now because Satan has been kicked out. He's no longer up there accusing us of, that we're fallen, evil sinners. He says, but then he says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea. I think this is the third woe he talks about, and the angel flying around with the trumpet judgments. And the fourth judgment, when it was over, he said in verse 13, I looked and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, because the remaining blast of the trumpet of the three angels who are about to sound. We already read, the mid-trib point says it. That was the second woe. Now I think the third woe, because it says the third woe is coming quickly, or they come quickly. So the third woe is basically woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows his time is short. It says that he tries to he's want to destroy this remnant that goes into the mountains. He's trying to destroy them before they get there. God protects them, and you see, the time frame of that, the timestamp of that. This guy tried to send me all kinds of Old Testament stuff, verses, and arguing that the two witnesses, I don't know if it's like there. Oh, he says that happened at the sixth seal judgment, which, if you remember, the sixth seal judgment is when Jesus on the sky recedes and scrolls back, and then God is judging mankind. And they know that God is judging them, and they're all hiding in the mountains and the caves, and they're saying, rocks fall on us. Who can stand up against God? He's saying they come back at that point. And when you read chapter 11, it clearly says they die at the midway, but it says their ministry is 1,260 days. They're destroyed, and when they're destroyed, this beast comes out and he made war with them. So their ministry was 1,260 days. The beast comes out of the bottomless pit, makes war with them. They die, and then when they die, and he goes into the temple and says, "I am God." That's when the Jews, it says, run to the mountain. Says he protects them for 1,260 days, which would be the last 3.5 years. So there's a timestamp on both those events, and it tells you exactly when they happen. He's trying to tell me they happened. I'm just like, where did he get that? Never responded. He gave me like, I don't know, 15 Old Testament scriptures, and to me, we're going through what John told us, and it's to me, because I've read it so much, but it's clear. He tells you when they happen. Their ministry is 1,260 days. They die, and then it says this Antichrist goes into the temple, which at the beginning of it says they're going to rebuild their temple, and it starts the 7. Part of this peace treaty. So I would imagine, before, because we're going to read about that before that they start building this temple, there's going to be these 10 nations. I think it's you look at the Daniel 2, I think it talks about this fourth beast kingdom that is going to come on the planet like iron that's going to crush and destroy. And it says this iron will mix with this miry clay, and it says they will not cleave together. I think this whole 10 kingdoms is something. I don't know. Maybe it's I know it's going to be giants. I think they're going to come and do that thing again, and they wouldn't get away with that. It's going to be like cyborgs or like Terminators or AI. It's just something this race has created, and they create this to try to divide the world up, or maybe it's just I don't know. So, but anyways, I think I forgot what I was going with that. Let's continue reading. Look at this. I read like one line and I'm already way into it. So then I stood on the. So I did the recap of chapter 12. That's why I got sidetracked. But anyways, so he's going out. So now he knows his time is short, and it's 12. If it gets chronological in there, it talks about the child was caught up, and then these Jews are going to run, so they fled to the wilderness, and they should feed her there 1,260 days. And then it goes and talks about this war in heaven, the serpent of old, the devil is Satan, who deceives the whole world. He's cast to the earth, and the angels are cast out with him. So now you're going to have Satan and all his angels that followed him. They're on earth now. I don't know if the whole world's going to be able to see that. I think these angels. It's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be this 10 kingdom system is going to be them, or if it's actually going to be men like technocrats, like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and all these guys, have all this money and power and doing this AI stuff. I don't know if it's them, or if it's this hybrid race of iron mixing with clay, miry clay. I don't know. It's not clear yet, but I guarantee the people that's in this time right now, they'll know exactly what's going on, exactly what it is. Right now, everybody teaches speculating. But anyways, so John says after he's seen this vision, Satan's on the earth. Man, I need to get a new Bible. This Bible is trashed. I wore this one out. So it says, I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having the 7 heads and the 10 horns, and on the horns 10 crowns. So I think John is going back now. Number 12, he got this. 11, he got this overview of the where they're going to build the temple, and then the second half of it was the tribulation saints that die at the end, and then 12 was like an overview, the historical overview, the history of the Jewish nation. Jesus being born, his children raptured out of here. That's what I think it is. And I may be wrong. And then the Jews, there's going to be a remnant that's flee to the mountains, protected for 3.5 years. The war broke out in heaven, so now he's back on earth, but he's going back to like 11, where they built the temple, and he's giving you more detail what's taking place before this temple was built. I mean, because these guys have to be in place before he can sign this treaty and they build the temple. Or I think enforce a covenant has already been established, and they're going to enforce it, and that's going to give the Jews this false feeling that they're safe, and they tear their walls down and they rebuild their temple and they get to worship the Lord make sacrifices to cover their sins because they rejected Jesus, who covered all the sins of all mankind. But that's this whole reason of the book of Revelation, is he's going to bring his children back, and they're going to realize that Jesus is the Messiah, and they're going to pray for him to come back. So anyways, now we're going to go back and we're going to show you how the beginning of this beast system is being built. So this, and a lot of people teach this right here is going to take place right after the rapture. If you watch my older videos, I don't believe that. I believe there's a big gap period, and a lot of things are going to take place during that gap, which we read is like the 7 seals. Those seals is going to happen before the last 7 years. The 4 bowl judgment is going to happen for the last 7 years, and then we see he gives an overview of what happens during the 7 years. Now we're going to go back. I think this has got to be going on like after the 6th seal, when the mountains are moved out of their place and the islands are moved out of their place, and this everything is this great earthquake, and the people know that God's trying to judge them. And then I think after that all calms down, they're going to start rebuilding. And this is going to be the outcome of that rebuilding after the 6th seal judgment. So it says the beast rising out of the sea. Remember, there's I think it's in Isaiah like 27 that says that God will make war against the Leviathan, and he's like going to be destroyed, and he's like in the sea. So I don't know if this beast that rises out of the sea, or is it the sea of people? Is it this literal sea? Is it the Antichrist, this Leviathan, this devil, this beast? Having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. So did he give him all of this before he was cast to the earth? Like, and his system was built up? And this is like this. So this beast that rises out of the sea, it's not the dragon, because it says the dragon gives him, this man, is like a leopard, his feet like a feet of a bear. So it's just this. And you read like in Daniel, and it's like this 4th kingdom is so horrendous. Well, this guy's rising up at this point, which I believe it's got to be after the 6th. And then maybe all these judgments where they're burning the trees and the grass. So it's another thing I don't get. It's like the people think that, so the rapture happens and these 10 kings are going to come up, and they're going to, and this little one's going to, this is what we're going to be about right now. This little one rises up, and he's the Antichrist, and Satan gives him all of his power. That's happening, and while that's happening, you see the rider of the first horse is trying to conquer, and then get the world back together after the rapture. The second horse or the second leader is like, no, everybody's going to kill everybody. And then the third one is, the starving everybody, and the fourth one is going to kill with the sword and the beast of the earth and something else. All that's going on at the same time that these 10 kings rise up, and this one guy's going to have great authority. I think all that takes place during the gap between the rapture and I mean, I don't know, because that's going to be chaos and death and mayhem everywhere. And at that time is going on, this guy's going to rise up, and we're going to continue on. So, anyways, Satan's going to give him his power. He's going to give him his throne. He's going to give him great authority. He said, and I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded. So the dragon given the beast which I saw like a leopard. So this beast, maybe it's the beast system, and he's going to give these has 7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns, and on his head blasphemous name. So it's this beast system that Satan's given this power to this system. And then one of these, so it says, I saw one of his heads. So he had, how many heads did he have? 7 heads. So one of his heads was mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world marveled and followed the beast. So they worshiped the dragon who gave authority to the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast, who is able to make war with him? Remember, I'm back when I did chapter 6, and the 6th seal, where this guy is saying that what did he say? He said the 2 witnesses come before the 6th seal. So you remember the 6th seal that was opened up. The 6th seal that was opened up. It says, man, this thing's falling apart. I looked, and he opened the 6th seal, Jesus. There was a great earthquake. The sun became black, the sackcloth of hair. The moon became like blood. The stars of heaven fell to the earth, as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken and by a mighty wind. So maybe that's where the guy gets, Satan's cast to the earth with all his, with all his angels, because right here it says the stars of heaven fell, which I don't believe is literal stars, is the fallen angels. It says the sky receded as it, so maybe all this takes place, all this is going on at the same time as this. I don't know. I don't see it, but maybe that's what everybody else teaches. But I'm going to make my point of why I believe these are 2 different events. They don't take place at the same time, because it says The sky receded as a scroll when it was rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. Remember I told you that guy, he said this, and 16 was the same event, and this one said they're moved out of the place. 16 says they're just gone. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave, every free man, hid themselves in the caves and the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us. So this is every great man, every king, every rich man, so everybody, poor man, slave, they're all hiding in the mountains. They're saying, fall on us, hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne. So they see God sitting on the face of him sits on the throne. And from the wrath of the Lamb, they know that the wrath is coming from Jesus. For the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand? Maybe this is at the very end. That does, like the dude from Ohio talks about, these things are like increasing, and they happen throughout the whole 7 years. But they say, they know that God and the Lamb, the wrath of the Lamb, and they're saying, the great day has come, who's able to stand? So it says, wait. Okay, anyway, so it says, for the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand? They're like, who can stand up to this wrath of God? And then here, when this guy comes on the scene, if this is all takes place before this guy comes on the scene, then he's mortally wounded, and it looks like he was resurrected from the dead, and they're like, whoa! So this guy's already been speaking blasphemous words and stuff. They're like, whoa! Who can stand up to this guy? And they're going to say this guy's God. So are they both happen at the same time? I think they're two total different events that take place. The other ones take place in the gap. There's this period where the system is going to be rebuilt. Satan falls to the earth. He gives this beast system his power. And there's going to be this one guy that's going to be one of the heads is shot, mortally wounded, and he dies. And he comes back to life. And the world sees this, and they're like, this guy is God. Who can stand up against him? So one, they're saying, who can stand up against God is judging them, and they're hiding in the mountains. And the second one, it's this beast system. The guy dies, he comes back to life, and they're saying, who can stand up against him? And I think by all this time has gone through, and all these judgments has gone through, a lot of people are gone and dead. And now you get this new system coming up. You got these, these seven heads with 10 horns, and on the horns 10 crowns, and one of them is shot to death. There's the thing in the Old Testament, I forgot where it's at, but it basically talks about, maybe I have it in my notes somewhere, maybe Zechariah 11:17 I have, but basically it talks about where this idol king is destroyed, and his eye is blackened, and his arm is withered, and people thought that the eye and the arm is what you take the mark on your forehead and your hand. I don't know. So his deadly wound was healed, and all the world marveled and followed the beast. They worshiped the dragon. So are they like literally? Do they know they're worshiping Satan, or they're just worshiping this guy that's like Satan is indwelt, and so by worshiping him, they're worshiping the dragon? I don't know. It says they worship the dragon who gave authority to the beast. So it was like, do the people know that is Satan actually there now, and then he gives his power to this Antichrist man? Because it says that this dragon gave this beast that was resurrected, gave the authority to the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him?" And he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months. There you go. Another timestamp. All the Jews they go and they hide in the mountains for 1,260 days, which is 42 months, which is 3.5 years. So this beast comes on the scene. He died. This beast system comes on the scene. It's got to be before. It's got to be before, because this beast is going to give Israel the right to rebuild the temple. Or maybe they just rebuild their temple, and nobody says they can do it. But anyways, this kind of I have to go. I tell you, man, you can try to piece all this together, it gets confusing. So anyways, so now they're worshiping the beast. And the sixth seal, they know God's judging them. They're saying, who can stand against him? And now, however long it takes to get to this point, now they see this guy and it's like, who can stand up against this guy? And they worship him. So he's got great authority. He's going to continue for 3.5 years. When it goes, I think it goes in later, where we're going to read that later. 30 minutes. You know what? I'm going to stop it there. Because 30 minutes, seems to be a good time where people are like, oh, I can handle 30 minutes. And 45 was too long. I can't watch this. I'm going to go get my dopamine. So I'm going to leave it there. And we're going to try to figure this out tomorrow. Dun, 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 dun. Stay tuned. Tomorrow, same time, same place, same bat channel. See what happens to the beast that's given us authority. He gets all this authority and he's speaking great blasphemous things for 42 months. Are you ready? All right, so I'm going to stop it there because this one, if I keep going, it'll probably be another 30 minutes. It'll be like an hour long. So we're just going to keep it there. And thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, for the cliffhanger. I'll see you guys tomorrow here on Misfit Island. Thanks for watching.